back, YouTube, to yet another video, and it is Vlogmas Day
14.
and we are switching up the narrative once again. This is better than the Q&A because I have my tea with me for a reason. Also, I have my blanket to get nice and cozy because, my friends, it's a story time.
Before we get into the video, make sure like, comment, subscribe. But if you don't want to do it now, I'm sure you'll be ready to do it after you see this.
And turn on the bell so you're notified every single time that we post. Also, make sure you check out our other Vlogmas videos, which is always linked up here, and at the end of the videos. Now, let's get to the tea, guys. I had COVID.
Oh my God.
In turn, making sure he had COVID. And the doctors were unable to diagnose it. Now. Before you say anything, I need you to understand. I have receipts, okay? Let's take a walk down memory lane and let me explain to you. I was the sickest of sick that I have ever been in my life. So typically I will go to the doctor, but urgent care was right around the corner and that's so much easier. At the time, I was a full-time student in grad school. I was working 2 jobs and I was like, you know what, like I don't have time to schedule an appointment for the doctor and call out of all the different things I have to do. So I was like, urgent care is logical. I just walked into urgent care.
Yeah.
I walked in. On the way there, I literally started crying in the car because of the pain that I was feeling. It was really freaking me out because clearly I knew something was wrong. We get to urgent care. They're like taking my temperature, asking me a whole bunch of questions. And long story short, they literally are like, oh, like, let's just test you for the flu. So they test me for the flu because I was convinced at that point that I had the flu because the aches, the chills, like all the things were just cliche symptoms of the flu. So I was convinced. They tested me 2 different times for 2 different strands of the flu, I guess, whatever. And both of them came up negative. And so they told me it came up negative. Mind you, I was pissed because I don't know if you got tested for the flu before, but they literally shove it up your nose, like the like long Q-tip. And it stays up there for like 10 seconds. It's not pleasant, it doesn't feel good. But you guys know that now with COVID. It came up negative. Anyway, they just told me to go home and that was that. So that night, the worst night of my life, terrible. And this guy
was asleep.
I'm talking chills in the middle of the night while I was profusely sweating. I literally was sweating so much that I had my pajamas drenched, the sheets drenched, and actually a blanket like this, a microfiber blanket, was drenched in the middle of the night from me sweating profusely and having chills at the same time. My body was aching. I literally lost my appetite. All this was happening and I had no idea what happened. And literally the day before I was just fine. So literally I was pissed. I was mad. Symptoms did not get any better. I said, forget it, I'm going to my real doctor, even though urgent care should be real doctors. I was like, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to my real doctor tomorrow. So I scheduled the appointment and I went. She also tested me for the flu. She was asking me questions and stuff. And essentially she was just like, you have a flu-like virus, but I don't know what it is. So I'm just gonna tell you to stay home. And so I got my little medical note or doctor's note and I stayed home for a couple of days. That's pretty much like the heat of the story. But the kicker is the symptoms did last for about a week. It was terrible. I didn't feel good. I couldn't really do anything. And I just had to wait for it to pass, but it was terrible because there really was no medication that could help. Like they tried to prescribe me on like flu medication, like as a safety.
Precaution?
Yeah, as like a precaution, but it just didn't really do anything. I just had to wait for it to pass. So I say all this to say the immediate pop-up of symptoms was in between February 17th and February 19th of 2019. Once again, I will be inserting receipts. Please feel free to look at the dates. And I was so pissed because I was convinced that urgent care and the doctor just didn't know what they were talking about because I swore up and down that I had the flu. But they weren't wrong. They weren't. It was a flu-like virus, AKA coronavirus. And that's how come they didn't have experience with diagnosing it or even treating it, because it wasn't a thing yet. It wasn't trendy yet. It didn't really hit and become a pandemic and devastate the world. And it is up to your interpretation by all means. That we all know that COVID was brought to our attention later than how long COVID has been a thing. Hence the coronavirus being listed on Lysol bottles. Hence the coronavirus being hinted at from the political parties. Like Donald Trump knew about it for a while and he just, didn't do anything because he didn't take it seriously, yada, yada, yada. Everybody has their own stories and their own perspectives. But all I know is that my story with getting the sickest I've ever been, contracting it randomly, having the virus for about 7 days plus, and then turning around and nobody out of several doctors were able to identify what it was because they did not have experience with it. To me, that's COVID. But open for your interpretation. Now, as I stated in the beginning, I did get Cameron sick. So he's gonna tell you his perspective.
I don't remember the time span for when she was sick and I got sick. So when I got sick, it was a span of 5 days, but I didn't go to any doctors or anything. I just was like, oh, you got me sick. But it was like, wake up, go, and I went to work too. Constantly, because I don't know, I guess that's technically stupid, right? If you're sick, don't go to work. But I would say that I don't think I got anybody sick because I'm a germ preventer. Like I don't spread my germs and I know how not to. So that's exactly what I did. But I was sick, went to work. Every time that I would get up, anytime that I, like getting out of bed, going, driving, walking, standing, sitting, it was a constant, like, they call it an ache, but it's not an aching pain. It's like a surging throb throughout, like that runs through your veins and that sucks the energy out of you. And I think that that's just flu stuff. Like that's what I thought it was, just, flu-like symptom. But I got it from Alex, so the only connection that I can make is like whatever she had, I had. Or she had one thing and then it dispersed and broke and I got like a piece of it and that was okay. But either way, it lasted for, I would say, the painfulness in my whole body lasted for a solid 5 days, like in a row. I was overflowing myself with vitamin C to like try to combat it. I don't know if that helped or not. It made me feel like it was helping. It does, make you feel better when you have a bunch of vitamin C in your system, I guess. But the span that I had it, a solid 5 days of just like, walking around feeling like a zombie, and then, a slow digression. Yeah, so overall, it just felt like, what I know to be, or what I found out to be flu symptoms, but since I never even went to the doctor, there's no way for me to even really know, but I can assume that it was the flu, and I can also assume in the same way that like it was this COVID-19.
Yeah, it's really crazy, and I know, like, once again, like, it's all open for interpretation. Like, you can take it for what it is, or you could take it and put it to whatever story you want it to be. But these are my experiences, this is his experience, and it is what it is.
You probably can relate it to a story that you've either heard or that you've also had. I'm sure that we're not the only ones who experienced this, of going to a doctor and literally them saying, we don't know.
I'm sure that we're not the only people that have said like they had COVID before COVID was a thing. Like, just because something isn't in the mainstream media doesn't mean that it's not possible. So just always keep that in mind. Like, be aware of your body. Please go to the doctor and continue to stay safe, y'all. Wear your mask, social distance. And if you want to be out here frolicking, please go get that vaccination. Otherwise, stay in the house, wear a mask, and social distance. Why are you doing that?
Cause you're gonna start talking about something. Please go get that vaccination. Don't.
No, I fully believe if you are a part of the problem, like if you do not stay in your house and you don't wear a mask when you're out, you're going to parties and to bars and you're traveling and doing all that, I think that you should get the vaccination because you have a problem with staying in the house. Yeah. But if you do not have a problem with social distancing and living a
quarantine life,
as we all should be doing, then you don't have to get the vaccination. I'm not about to be a part of the problem and then not get the vaccination.
and then not try to be a part of the solution.
Like, what is that? So anyway,
Irresponsible.
beside the point, this is the end of our video. Thank you for watching up until this point and hearing our story. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe once again, and we will see you guys tomorrow.